My friendship blew up on a trip to Japan. Finding out my friend of 5 years was an absolute when taking her on her first trip to Japan 1 year after I moved back from there. What did she do? Wouldn't add to the itinerary at all but complained every single day when we got there. I took her to popular stations in Tokyo since it was her first time and we had 7 days. But she wanted to go to the beaches and rise at 5 a.m. and stay out till 2 a.m. like she does in Mexico. Compared everything to Mexico, even wanting to tip a restaurant owner in USD because I do it in Mexico. Wanted to tip everyone and argued the whole time when I told her don't do it, it's rude, and when I got my Japanese friend to educate her on how to give proper thanks, she finds one person online who said it's not required but appreciated and wouldn't stop pressing me about how it's so good to tip. She would ask me how my legs were doing and I'd answer honestly like, yeah, they hurt. And she later mocked and berated me saying it made her feel bad I was complaining about my legs. I never said they hurt out of my own accord, nor did I stop what we were doing or ask for breaks. If she asked I said yeah, but she'd rather I'd lie. I asked if she was thirsty while we waited for open hours and she said no, so I went to find me a coffee shop to grab one real quick. She goes, I don't even want to go there, you should have taken me to a real cafe. Girl, I'm just grabbing me a drink since you said no. Doesn't believe in itineraries yet hated everywhere I took her, so got her friend back home to look up places for her. She had 6 months to look up anything to add but she doesn't believe in itineraries. Got mad I didn't order for her when she didn't ask me to help. Said if we were in Mexico I would have ordered for you. All she said was she was thinking about getting a bun today. She didn't end up ordering it herself because she didn't want to point to it and ask the cashier. I was standing 10 steps away from her, there was no one in line and we were the only ones in the store. Not sure why she didn't even attempt to order a bun in the case or ask me to help her. Started saying she should have gone on this trip with friend A or friend B to my face. Said she didn't like touristy areas aka Shibuya, Asakusa, Harajuku, and wanted to go to rural areas while she doesn't even speak Japanese and was relying on me to quite literally hold her hand for everything. She's older than me but both late 20s BTW. Said she was going to leave the trip early if we spent a day with my sister at our Japanese friend's house. She wouldn't eat sushi because they have worms in them, wouldn't go to karaoke because they were listening. Said I made her cry, which she's only ever done at her dad's funeral. Wow. Called dried squid a gag gift she can get her family. Accused me of cutting her luggage and wouldn't take out yen from the ATM, so I did and she paid me back. Tried to tell me data works fine compared to our pocket Wi-Fi and that we can just leave the Wi-Fi at the hotel when I asked her to hold it for us. I lived in Japan and will not go anywhere without a pocket Wi-Fi. This isn't even half of it. A whole 7-day nightmare. For the first time in my life I actually slept through an entire 9-hour plane ride on the way back. Update 1. So I got a lot more responses and questions that I thought I would get on my last post. I figured I would share more about it for those who were interested. I also wanted to thank everyone who told me their own story of disaster trips. Some felt really relatable. Also big thank you to those who asked me for Tokyo recommendations and those who said they would have been glad to have me as a guide. That made me really happy. I actually had 2 friendships that ended over that trip and overall I felt really taken advantage of and underappreciated. Thank you all for helping sort some of those feelings by sharing your thoughts. Of course this was a huge lesson learned and I'll do my best to move forward with more caution and maturity. A little more context to what I went through. Got mad I told her no, I don't need her to hold my bag. Got mad I told her I didn't want to walk 1 hour to our destination because she chose the route with 1 train with a 40 minutes walk. I chose one with 3 transfers and a 10 minutes walk. I said I put my compressions in my check-in on accident and she replies, well I'm smart and packed mine in my backpack. Told me she couldn't help with adding to the itinerary or join study sessions because she had family issues she didn't want to tell me about and didn't understand how that doesn't give her a pass to complain the whole time. She would agree to leave an area but then make snarky comments about how she liked the previous area more. Told me sarcastically, I'm always right, when I tried to tell her she was reading a Japanese person's response wrong. As if I didn't know the concept of tatamae and hon lol. Blew up at me for being on my phone at dinner. I was navigating the whole time and we shared a hotel bed, the only time I got to check in with my fam is when we sat down to eat. Kept saying her family, who was tracking her, was asking why we're at a laundromat or why we're at a mall and not outside. Would compare me to friend A like, oh she would have understood my joke. Used my other friend problem I was having, against me saying she understands why my friend did what she did. Yapped about how she hates Selena Gomez for writing a song about her ex, and when I told her nearly every singer-songwriter does she told me to list names and so I listed people and she said no, but name male singers though. Heard my fave group XG play in Shibuya and when I got excited she goes EW, only because they're a girl group. Acted like me making an itinerary meant that we couldn't walk into random shops along the way. Anytime we went somewhere spontaneously or didn't make a reservation, she would be like, "See, this is how I travel. I just go with the flow because I do better under pressure." Anyways, so some people had mentioned how I didn't see any of this behavior prior to going on the trip, and I'll best honest and say there were red flags in our relationship which I saw, and I actually did distance myself from her. But after I moved to Japan and came back, I was in this weird position and really wanted to reconnect with my old friends and establish a support system again. So I decided to start fresh with her, which was obviously a mistake, and I got what I deserved. She started changing during the pandemic, in which her and friend A got really close as we were barely talking at the time. I talked to a mutual friend of ours recently, and we both suspect that friend A had a part in fueling her toxic behavior. We always knew her as a sort of mama bear that took care of everyone and is super well-mannered and self-righteous. Everyone IRL likes her and looks up to her, but as one commenter pointed out, these good qualities are actually a disguise. She needs to be in control, and once she was out of her element and not in control, she completely lost her cool and was actually very verbally abusive. Which brings me to the next answer to everyone's question: she is pursing to be a detective or police officer. It's more fitting rather than ironic. She appears disciplined, morally superior and dominant, but she's simply judgmental and controlling, and it's scary to think someone like her will have more power and influence. The next thing I want to address is people asking why did she even want to go to Japan. I kind of think it's simple. I invited her and said I know of good places and can take us around. I think a lot of people in my life want me to take them to Japan because it's easier to go with someone who knows how to travel there. She wasn't someone who ever dreamed of going to Japan, but the opportunity came up and she took it. She's more of a Koreaboo TBH, but nevertheless she was excited to go. She even started texting friend A on our trip saying they were gonna make it up to her and go to Kyoto next year and that I could join LOL. Even though she told me to my face, "No offense, but I'm never traveling with you again." The last thing people are asking is what I said to her when I ended it. So when we got back to the States, basically I started blocking her on everything. I argued with her for 7 days and everything that came out of her mouth was a complaint or insult, so I had zero energy to go back and forth. I already know that nothing will change her mind or open her eyes. She texted me asking why she couldn't find my username anymore, and I said this: "Girl, no way we are friends anymore after the way you behaved all throughout the trip. Never in my life have I heard a grown adult complain that much and not know how to communicate without an attitude, gaslighting and being condescending. You are ethnocentric, extremely judgmental and ableist. You say a lot of racist microaggressions and misogynistic things. And the fact that people can't even be honest with you or that you can't be honest with others is wild. You'd rather not hear the truth. BC honesty makes you feel bad. The entire time you talked about how you normally do things with your friends and family, and all it told me was that you're not very adaptable. But yeah, there was way too many unpleasant behavior and things said that showed your true colors, and I don't want any further involvement." Then I blocked her. But I got a new phone and saw she read it. So that's that. I'm not hurt, but I'm really bummed about my trip to Japan being ruined.